In Modern, Tribal used to be a super popular archetype, but with cards like Fury, Wrenn 6, Unholy Heat, and other efficient removal spells being printed in the Modern format, it is too hard to keep up with them. But the only way you can is with having efficient spells and card advantage. So in today's video, we are going to do the tribe that can do this the best: Rats. While rats are very underpowered, the new card Karamux the Rat King is a powerhouse. This allows you to look at the top 5 and put any number of rats into your hand, additionally giving your rats infect. But how are we going to abuse this? Well, the answer is weird. It's simple. It's Locket of Yesterdays plus Rat Colony.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The reason this is a good combo is because Locket of Yesterday says spells you play cost 1 less to play for each card with the same name in your graveyard. And with playing 30 rat colonies, this is going to be very likely. The ways we have of getting rat colony in the graveyard are with gnawing vermin and rotting rats. Additionally, if our opponent ever kills one, then it will be in the graveyard as well. So this means that all of our rat colonies will cost 1 mana instead of 2, allowing us to deploy to the board much quicker and much faster. The strategy is simple: get a rat colony in the graveyard, get a lock-in on the field, and just play all the rats that you can. But the question is, will this actually hold up in the Modern format? Well, let's take it into a league. In our first match, we have a very sweet hand. We're on the draw, but we're paired up against a combo deck, which main deck, we are, basically have nothing against them. We are a creature deck, we slam onto the table, and our opponent had a very good hand, right? They had a Bitter Reunion, discarding Archon of Cruelty. They end up persisting it on turn 2 with haste, and there is just nothing that we can do about that. Just absolutely game over. As for the sideboarding, we bring in Ovar and Leyline of the Void, and that we're kind of just hoping to get them with Ovar. That's basically our only hope. We end up getting both of those in our starting hand, but our opponent has a crucial Thoughtseize, and at that point, the game's over. Nothing we can do. For match number 2, we have another pretty sweet hand, double Aether Vial hand, which is very good. We're up against Mill, which we have a lot of stuff built in the sideboard for, so I'm hoping that this will be a good matchup. As for game 1, definitely a little bit underdog here. We don't really have that quick of a start. We don't really have that quick of a deck. We're definitely trying to grind out opponents and just have a fast kill once we get there. And our hand just doesn't have a Munix, which is definitely our best card in the deck. So we end up, actually having a pretty good draw step here. We get to flood out our hand, definitely looking good. We get to play everything onto the board and actually have a somewhat of an aggressive, battlefield. And we're just at this point hoping our opponent doesn't hit anything too crazy. They end up Tasha's hitting us, laughtering us, and we do take down like 23 cards, which is absurdly high. I mean, our curve is very low, so that makes sense. But we vial in our rats, and it just seemed like our opponent had nothing here, right? They just couldn't end up dealing with our rat board, and they just conceded to a rat colony and what, 3 miscellaneous rats. So I felt pretty happy about this. As for sideboarding, we really didn't have much for this matchup. We just brought in our 2 Eldrazi Titans and our Pithing Needles to hopefully name something like a Burrow or a fetch land, because they're better than the rats. Our starting hand, definitely another good one. We have Munix, which is definitely our best card, 2 mana accelerants, so we're definitely feeling good about this one. But funnily enough, this was probably the shortest game of the entire league. Our opponent just mills us on turn 2, sees the Emrakul, and just scoops it up there, and I just couldn't help but laugh. In match number 3, we end up having a mulligan to 5. We couldn't find lands, and our 5-card hand is pretty decent. We have a Swamp Yard, an Aether Vial, and 3 rat colonies, which allows us to actually play to the board, have a decent hand. While it's going to be slow, we can hope to draw some lands off the top at some point. And our opponent is on what seems to be a green-red aggressive deck, but they do have an Abundant Harvest to find, land, and that they have the Ground Whiff, which tells us that they are on something of a combo deck. Another, really bad matchup for us. Anything that involves combo is not going to be great for this deck. Obviously, we are trying to play to the board, have a little bit of value here and there, and to just kind of beat down the opponent and not die to combos. But again, we play up against a combo deck. They have a breach, nothing to do. Our sideboard, we bring in Leyline, bring in Chalice, kind of just hope, cross our fingers, and maybe we'll draw these cards. But we just end up in game 2 not finding any of those. Our opponent ends up having the nuts, and there's nothing that we can do about it. They literally just killed us on turn 2 because they have Ground Riff and Grape Shot. So nothing we could do there, and just a tough matchup for us overall. After getting beat down by the combo deck, we get into our fourth match where our opponent is on a green-red deck. This is a good sign for us. Usually this means that they are on a fair strategy, hoping that they are on something with Wrenn and 6. Even though Wrenn and 6 seems really bad for our situation, we are hoping to God we have a good hand. We have, you know, the Locket, we have Kindermunix, we have a bunch of rat colonies. We're hoping that we can, you know, end up somehow getting a rat colony onto the board or in the graveyard, and then just like, you know, obviously get all of our rats on the board. But on turn 2, our opponent has a Cassilia Ambusher. Absolutely got us. Like, this card is absurdly weird. If you're getting attacked by an opponent and you own a plains and a forest, you can cast it for free. So definitely a cool card. And then our opponent, Eldamri, calls for an Allosaurus Rider. Like, I have no clue what our opponent's on at this point. We are like completely lost in the sauce. And then our opponent cast the Allosaurus Rider, which was so weird. But we ended up having to chump block, getting a rat colony into the graveyard, playing a Kindermunix, drawing 4 cards, absolutely insane. And we are pushing ahead. We're trying to, you know, push our advantage here. We get to absolutely play out all of our rats, and you know, our opponent is pressured by us. We have poison, we have combat damage, we have so many ways of pressuring their life total and, you know, possibly winning the game. And right as I thought we had this game locked up, our opponent cast an Atraxa, which finally clicked why all of this makes sense. Allosaurus Rider, they are trying to Eldamri's Call into that, and then they're going to try and Eldritch Evolution it away. Everything finally clicks. They also show us cards that put green creatures onto the battlefield, and we beat a resolved Atraxa. What an absolute wild game. We ended up drawing so well, we had our combo online, and we ended up beating an Atraxa on the battlefield, which I would never have expected with rats, and that was just such a beautiful game. As for the post-board games, we ended up just kind of falling behind. We ended up having to mulligan in game 3 down to 5, and game 2 it was just too much pressure for us. They ended up resolving an Atraxa, and it was actually a really close game too, but they just, you know, found the thing that put, I forgot the name of it, but the thing that puts a green creature onto the battlefield, whatever that instant is, and just beating us with an Atraxa, and there was nothing we could really do about it. In our 5th match, we are up against Amulet Titan. In game 1, they have the absolute nuts. They are on a mold of 4, and they just have 3 amulets on turn 2 or whatever it was, and just absolutely plow through us. Game 2, you know, not much of a sideboard plan here, but they're on a mold of 3, I believe. So Rotting Rat's kind of doing some carrying, and even then, their hand was so good. This is kind of the problem. We have no fight back against combo. In this entire league, we just went combo deck, combo deck, combo deck, combo deck. In game 2, we at least do win with, you know, Kindermunix, you know, helping us get a little bit of card advantage, rat colony being aggressive, swamp yard helping everything out. So the entire deck kind of looked cohesive here, which was definitely something I really enjoyed. So they just end up conceding there. And then in match 3, we just have a Chalice hand, which is our only sideboard card for this matchup, which is not good. And they just end up again having an absolute banger hand with multiple amulets with the new Mycosynth Gardens. So there was nothing we could do really in this match. Overall, the rats performed up to par. 1-4 is nothing to be mad about, especially when 4 of the matchups were against combo decks, which is, you know, our worst possible matchup. Our sideboard was really not built perfectly, and overall, I think that this deck could be built better. And I do think rats have a chance if you are looking to build a new deck. I appreciate everyone for watching this video. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe. Let me know if you like this type of video, and I will see you guys in the next one.